Me again. Hello, me again. Yes, it's me again. Yes. Here, I've just had a fantastic session with the warrior teachers. Oh, look, that's me here. Fantastic session with the warrior teachers, right? So I'm going to stop in a minute and have some lunch. But before I did, I read the most extraordinary thing. Now, apparently, you know these men, these cross-dressing blokes that go for the titty skittles? You know, it's like the old, give me the estrogen now. Those, right? Because of the skeletal structure of men, this has to be true. Because of the skeletal structure of men, as compared to the skeletal structure of women, even if they take the titty skittles, right, they end up with titties that are on the side, not the front. Please let this be true. In other words, what they end up with, as we've seen when they took off their tops, these men farting about outside somewhere, right, is that they, instead of, women's breasts will drop gracefully, or depending on age, they'll either drop gracefully or plummet quickly. But you know what I mean? They drop gracefully. What these do is they flop round the side, so that you end up, if you painted them green, with a chest that looks like a chameleon. This has to be true, right? And suddenly I thought, can you imagine? You go through all that trouble of getting your titty skittles to play with, and then they flop to, got a chest like a chameleon. Will that work? And you end up with that? Made me laugh, right? But it reminded me of another story. I just think it's reminded me of stories and jokes today about the guy in the pub with the club foot. Talking to a guy in a pub with a hunchback, right? This is a joke from the past. And they eventually finish their conversation, and the guy with the hunchback says, "Oh, I'm going to go home now." He said, "All right, okay, which way are you going?" "Oh, I'm going to go through the graveyard. It's quicker." He said, "All right, well, he said, "Good to see you. I'll see you again." He turns around and starts finishing his drink, and the guy with the hunchback stumbles off out into the darkness. And going through the graveyard, comes across this particular big gravestone, and before he knows it, out from behind the gravestone pops the devil. And the devil says to him, "Ha, little man. Hey, little man, what's that on your back?" At which point the guy says, "Oh, it's a hump, sir. Excuse me, sir. It's a hump, sir." And the devil goes, "Give it here." And he grasps the shoulder of this hump, and the hump disappears. And the devil shoots off behind the gravestone. And this guy stands up. He can't believe his good fortune. He's gone. The hump's gone. So he runs back as fast as he can to tell his friend in the pub. He goes, walking in the pub, the guy goes, "What's happened to you?" He's like, "Where's your hump?" He said, "It's gone." "I was gravestone. Devil." So he tells him the story, and the guy with the clubfoot goes, "That's utterly amazing." So do you think if I walk through, you might do the same for me with my clubfoot? And the guy says, "Well, I see no reason why not." So the guy with the clubfoot goes on the same journey as the other bloke did, goes walking into the darkness of the cemetery, and there's a particularly great big gravestone, and out pops the devil. And the devil says to the guy with the clubfoot, "Ha, little man, what's that on your back?" To which the guy goes, "What? Eh? Nothing." He says, "Here, have a hump." I don't know why that relates to moobs on the side that make you look like a chameleon, but in my weird head it does. I'll see you later. Bye.